everyone, welcome to the Card Hoppin August Hop, where we're featuring stencils and embossing folders. This month's theme is Sunshine, and I am going to be creating a project using products from the Greetery. We all met, the hoppers in this group, over in the Handmade Happiness Facebook group. I will have that linked in the description box below. This is a die heavy card, so if you do not like coloring, this card is for you. Here are the products that I'm using. This is the Market Basket Sentiment Set, the Botanicuts Geranium dies, the Market Basket dies, the Nordic Frames, Sentiment Suite Basics. I'll be using the tag die from this set. And this is the stencil that I chose to use. It's a 5-piece stencil set. It's brand new from the Greetery. It's called Deco Triangle Stencils. I'll be using a couple of Faber-Castell Polychromo pencils as well as a stylus. This stencil is so incredibly forgiving. It is part of the August release over in the Greetery. All of the products will be linked in the description box below. You can see that I do have a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock, and I have the first layer of the stencil. Now they're not numbered, but this stencil, as I said, is super forgiving and easy to use. I lined it up because the stencil was bigger than my card panel. You can see right there, left side, bottom, and then there's just a little bit of white space that you want to leave between each layer. The first color that I stenciled with was called Skylight. This color is my sunshine theme for the card. When I think of sunshine, I think of the color yellow. So I knew I wanted to incorporate yellow into my card. And this is called Shea Butter. These inks are from Catherine Pooler. They are part of the Zen Garden Connect collection, which is a more muted collection for Catherine Pooler if you are familiar with her inks. More of a fall, deep, darker colors, and I love this collection. Here I'm adding my third layer, which is called Polished, and then I'm going to line up the last layer. You'll see how easy, look at that, how easy that is. And we'll add our final color, which surprisingly is Seafoam. Now this will dry back just a little bit, but it is darker. Look at how dark that is. Darker than I thought a traditional Seafoam typically is. I'll remove this portion of the panel. I'll cut it out using those Nordic Frames off camera, and then I'll cut out the medium Nordic frame onto another white piece of paper, and this is the 5th layer. So it's more of a solid, and as you can see, I am adding what's left on my brush of the Shea Butter, and that's going to add a little bit more of that sunshine to my card. I have a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch side folding card. You can see when I used the Nordic frame on that stenciled background that it did cut it out to approximately 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm adding or gluing the sunshine piece that I stenciled to the center. I used what was left on my brush of the polished ink, and then I'm adding the rose petal, and finally I'll add the sugared lavender. I'm going to make a mistake here, and I leave my mistakes in my videos. I picked up the right brush. I wanted to deepen the polished, which is the red, and you can see in the upper right hand corner I'm going to pick up that brush, but I am actually going to put it in the rose petals ink. I realized my mistake right here, and I'm like, oh, so I get a clean brush because I can't put that back into my polished ink, and I go over it, and I still like the color. I think if I would have went over the red just a little bit more, I would have gotten even more variation. Catherine Pooler inks are water reactive, so of course I did need to splatter it using my distress sprayer. I'm going to take the 2 green colors for my stems, and I'm going to use what's left on my brush. So the first color here is the Seafoam, and there it looks more like a traditional Seafoam. And finally, the Skylight. As you can see, I did use the dies to cut out my geraniums. Now, they come on the left is a larger solid piece on the right is the smaller of the two. Then there's two different size petals to create individual flowers, and that I cut that out about twice. I layered up the pieces. I divided them into small and large, and then I layered up the pieces. You just crisscross them together to get the flower. I cut out my geranium leaves as well, and I'm going to add a little bit of detail using my polychromo pencils. It does have both the floral and the leaves have a little bit of embossing on it, a little bit of detail. So for the leaves here, I used the green opaque was my darkest color, and then the earth green was the lightest one for shading. I spritzed my leaves with some water because that really helps make the paper more pliable. And then I used my stylus in the center and around the edges of those geranium leaves. And this is going to give my project dimension. If you don't want the dimension, you can skip this step, but I personally really think that it adds to the beauty of the die set from the Greetery. I used the light magenta pencil on all of my florals, and you can see those little crisscross pieces that I put together. They create those tiny flowers. In those solid pieces, there are little cuts so that you can actually use your stylus and you can add dimension to those layers as well. And that just adds again to the beauty of this particular die set. I am going to glue them down to my stems right here. And now we're going to start layering them onto our card panel. I did, for the sake of time, out of gold foiled paper, I cut out the medium-sized market basket. These market baskets come in small, medium, and large in the die set. I used, as I said, the medium one. And usually the way that you would use it is there's a solid piece which allows you to put, kind of like if you saw a wire basket that had cloth on the inside and layered, so it allows you to add a second color behind it. I chose to keep all of the pieces in. I wanted to make sure that nothing fell out, so of course you saw that I did tape it on the back side. I also added a piece of 1/8 inch foam tape to the left and the right side of the basket to pop that up and give my flowers a place for me to put them inside. The largest one is the one in the middle. And then I tried to get, I did these colors a couple of times so that I would get a little bit of a variety. So I used all three of the color combinations that I had. For the geranium leaves, they come with a large, medium, and small geranium leaf. I felt that with the size of this basket, that the medium leaf it just looked a little bit better, more balanced than trying to use the larger leaf. I did get a little bit of glue right there on my basket, so I'm just using a baby wipe to wipe it up. And then once I get my medium leaves down, I'm going to layer the smallest one in the center. Now we're going to start adding our geranium pieces. This is what's really going to fill out this project and really make it come to life. So you layer it on top of both the solid die cuts, and I layered it around the sides, as you'll see. And look at how it starts really bringing this project together. I did off camera cut out the tag, so the tiny tag from the Sentiment Suite Basics. I took a piece of gold thread and I threaded it through the hole of the tag so that my tag would have something to hang from. And then I am going to stamp it using one of the Marketplace sentiments that says "For You." And this way I can use this card for a get well card, a birthday card, any type of occasion. And so I leave the inside blank so I can use what sentiment I need at the time that I need it. I'm wanting to add, now geraniums typically don't have this center, but I really like the look of that. So I did use some white Nuvo drops and I did add a little dot to the center of each of those geraniums. And then I have my tag here that says "For You." I did use the Catherine Pooler polished ink for that. And once I get this tag on, I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape. Because the market basket is lifted as well, I did need to add an extra piece of foam tape to the bottom of that tag. And that's my card for today. So I will have the next person in the hop linked in the description box below, as well as the full list in case you get lost. I want to thank you so much for stopping by my channel. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.